We feel like we have to go, and do, and if I don't do this, and we kill ourselves, not realizing that you're not showing up as your best self.
We have to train our brave and have these really difficult conversations with our patients, with our friends, be their support system, and even bigger than that, we have to do that for ourselves.
We need to work together, honestly. We need to be all in the same train, going in the same direction.
Yep.
We can all have different flavors and different opportunities, but we've got to stay on the same train and work with each other.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists podcast, an Endeavor Business Media production. This is episode 400, and I am your host, Andrew Johnston, and thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, shoot, folks, we did it, right? We did it. 400 episodes is a huge milestone. For 300, we had a huge roundtable with all of our friends, and I remember I was sitting in this very room recording it, and was just so overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, we did 300. And then here we are at 400. I think that probably before every next 100, I've always said like, oh, look, I'm not going to make it to the next one, enjoy it. I'll be done. But here I am still here, still having fun doing the podcast thing. I would love to say that, look, I will for sure be here for the 500 because that makes sense. But in my head, I don't know if that's a good idea. I think that maybe it's going to jinx everything if I say for sure I'll be here. So I probably need to be like, oh, well, I mean, it's been a good run, guys. I'll never make it to the next milestone. So it's been fun. Anyways, I don't know. I just mind games. I got to get out of my head. Anyway, to celebrate this epic achievement, I have saved this special roundtable that we recorded at RDH Under One Roof because this episode really meant a lot to me. It's, in my opinion, what it means to be a hygienist, this very, very episode. It's about friends getting together, doing something that's an unscripted, unprompted episode, and just seeing where it takes us. It's about friends who care enough about the profession that they keep working towards the next thing, and they keep learning about how to make themselves better and how to make their patients better. It's about trying to learn that next new thing, but also maybe hearing it for the 100 billionth time until it clicks. And that's what this profession is to me. It's about people who care, who keep trying, who don't give up, who, in spite of whatever adversity is happening to them, they're not quitting on their patients. So I am very lucky to be joined by this group of people. We have Machell Hudson, Kerry Lepicek, and Dr. Joy Void-Holmes on the show today. You're really going to love this episode. It is just, kick back and relax and listen to it. It's a good one. And then next week, we have another new voice and another new topic that we tackle as we talk about the basics of nitric oxide. And this is with Holly Moons. I'll admit, I felt really dumb as we were recording this episode because I was trying to keep my head above water in all of the world that she lives in. The conversation was, kind of like that sciencey stuff that I really enjoyed, but I knew I was so out of my depth. And so it's kind of hard to record those ones, honestly, but because she knows her stuff so well. And one thing too, just kind of a sidebar I was just thinking about was you can tell when people learn about a topic to maybe write an article, or maybe they want to speak on it, or I don't know, it's almost like they're filling a void in the industry. But when Holly comes on, you're going to tell that not only does she just know this, she learned it for herself, but it's something that she uses and practices every day with her patients. It's so seamless how she has those discussions with her patients. So your feedback for this next episode, I think I probably more than other episodes really keen on hearing, because it's just new and it's interesting and it's unique. And I think that we could probably dive a little bit deeper into nitric oxide and see where it takes us to. So let me know if you're interested in that after next week's episode. But I think that's all for me for this episode. Happy 400th, everyone, and enjoy this roundtable.
A tale of two hygienists.
All right, everyone, welcome into the episode. We have Dr. Joy telling some secrets to Machell. Go ahead.
So I saw Machell. We ran into one another on one day, but we had like maybe 5 minutes to speak.
Not enough.
And so the second day she was by the booth, but I was busy, and she had on this like really short like dress, and I'm like, damn, marriage does a body good. You look so good.
That's what we hit record for?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I thought it was going to be like, I listened to you speak, and it was the most amazing.
You said that you appreciate beauty. That is
No,
what
I
you
do appreciate some beauty.
Thank you. That means a lot.
That was, I'm like, damn. I think I was talking to Rhoda. I was like, do you see her? You look really good.
Thank you.
Always feels
Yeah.
good when you're making checking other people out. So
She looked good.
I know.
I've worked really, really, really hard.
I mean, she had the legs showing and everything.
I did.
She did.
She's like, I did.
She really did. She looked good.
I finally reached a point to where, you all know my story. I worked out all the time and ate healthy. I had this great clinical hygiene job. And so when you walk out of the office, you were done.
Mm-hmm.
And then those next few chapters, which are so exciting, and I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so grateful for all the opportunity, but you go down that road, and I became my unhealthiest as I'm teaching people how to be healthy. And so the great thing about Neil is he supported that I was overworked, and he said, you take care of you. Mm-hmm. And it's allowed me to come back better, and I feel good, y'all. And that
You
was
look good.
I know.
But
He's
can we
such a
talk about
good
can we talk
man.
about the stuff that, like, what? Because I am probably where you were a couple years ago, where it's like I've gotten more and more unhealthy as time goes on. When I was working clinical, I mean, I worked a lot of hours. I was a little bit stressed, but I was able to at least maintain. But when things change, when you have a different job, when you're traveling all the time and you're doing all of those things, I feel like I don't know if lazy is the right word, but like
You stop prioritizing you.
Yep.
But why though? Like, why is that something that happens?
Because we feel like we have to go and do, and if I don't do this, and we kill ourselves, not realizing that you're not showing up as your best self, even with all that you do. So I fell into the same trap.
Mm-hmm.
You look great.
You
I've
do
been
look
working really hard.
amazing.
Thank you. So I had lost a lot last year, and then picked back up when my mom got sick. But I'm like, And I don't have height like you guys, so I mean, I go out. I don't go up. So you have to just make it a point. The same way you make it a point to do you say, hey, I have 10 podcasts and I'm going to do these. You have to make it a point to say, I'm going to do this for Andrew. The one thing that I started doing was just walking around the block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Walking is probably one of the most, what do you say, underrated things that you can do. There was this lady that used to live in the back of me, and she was, could barely walk, and all she would do, it would be like walking from the dental post booth to crown seating, and that's all she did. And she would just walk, slowly but surely, and she started to drop weight.
It's about 100 feet, 30 some odd yards for those.
So you start somewhere.
We're taught, and I think really just we're conditioned to believe that it's all about calories in, calories out.
Sure.
And it's a lot more complicated than that, especially the older we get. So let's take insulin resistance in our adolescents. 12 to 19, even 40% of our young adults and adolescents, 1 in 10 adolescents have metabolic syndrome. Our young adults, 40% of our young adults have insulin resistance. And so we're really battling a lot more than it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
And so
Can you define metabolic syndrome?
metabolic syndrome is 3 of 5 conditions. So high blood pressure, hemoglobin A1C, and low HDL, and then waist circumference. And in our country, we have just under 74% of us are overweight or obese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it really is an epidemic of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang it.
I think this is when you really need to consult a specialist, someone who really understands that it's not just about calories in and calories out, but walking. You have to just start doing something.
Yes. So with our patients, when we would do, let's just take it into the operatory. And even with like periodontal disease and caries, and then you're connecting those systemic conditions, high blood pressure, which high blood pressure is really our first sign of cardiovascular disease risk. And it's such an ignored condition. Yep. And we're losing loved ones. And then let's just take stroke. Stroke is the most preventable cause of disability in our country. And that's unfortunate. So if I have a patient we're looking at all of these, putting these puzzle pieces together, and so looking at the health history, also understanding where they are mentally, are they ready? Yeah. And because they have to be ready, and we can't talk at them. We need to listen to them and ask questions, and then take the oral health. Sleep comes into play. We need to do sleep assessments. Often we talk about sleep disorder breathing and obstructive sleep apnea, but women are 40% more likely to have insomnia, which also exacerbates and can even initiate the inflammatory process. And so we need to be asking questions about that. And then, of course, bring in periodontal disease and then Kerry's disease, which both of those diseases have oral and systemic connections. And then, come up with this perfect prescription, home care prescription for them. Our role in the practice, but the participatory piece is for them and what they're going to do at home. And part of that is nutrition. And I have one patient that I tell this story a lot, who he had no faith in himself, and he had had diabetes for 20 years and didn't think it was possible, and was working with had an endocrinologist. And I was like, you know what? I believe in you. I believe in you. And our goal, okay, you don't lose a single pound, but our goal is to lower your A1C. And we're going to do that by treating your periodontal disease. And we're going to lower that bacterial load, which is going to also benefit your systemic health. And then we're going to eat, let's talk about nutrition. And so he did not eat anything healthy, and which is many people, and there's no shame there. It is what it is. And our role as healthcare professionals is to help our patients understand what healthy looks like, and part of that is nutrition. So he agreed to eat 1 serving of vegetables and at 1 meal a day, and to walk for 10 minutes, which is going to help with insulin sensitivity. And he has lost over 60 pounds, and oral disease, he is as healthy as he's ever been.
But he must have increased the walking. He must have increased his healthy habits.
He started walking, 2 to 3 times a day. He did. But so several times that I saw him thereafter, he would continue to say, it's not going to happen. I've been this way forever. I've had diabetes as long as I can remember. I'm not going to get healthier. I can't lose weight. And I consistently told him, I believe in you. And this is baby steps. And it was amazing. He began to believe in himself. So I always often talk about when I started speaking and consulting, I was like, what in the world am I doing in this world? Like, I'm a clinical hygienist, and all of these people know so much more than I do. And then you get out there and you start talking and you learn, wow, this is really cool. But there was a whole lot of experiences in that process that the only reason I was doing it is because people believed in me.
I feel like, it's nice that we are there for our patients a few times a year. How do you find friends? How do you find your support system outside of your dental professional? Because I'll tell you what, this is my thing. I would be more than happy to get on a healthier path if I had someone in my corner like that.
You need an accountability partner.
You also need, so we talk about accountability partners are awesome. And I know that it's also really important that collaborative care it's really essential. and working with nutritionist or a health coach, and then good integrative medicine. Financially, not everyone can go and work with an integrative physician, and so having a good understanding of what your inflammatory state is and then how you can fix that. But you can work nutritionist, a health coach. If you start looking at how much soda are you drinking, or if they're drinking that, like if they're going to fast food, and figuring out a way that, because health coaches are really many times pretty affordable, and that's a good avenue to go down. Or lean into your friends and do it together. And like, there's great podcasts out there. There's amazing books out there that many people are doing it on their own. And exercise, walking is huge, but we can't take away the benefit of strength exercises, especially when it comes to insulin sensitivity.
I really want to pivot, if it's okay with you, about your course that you gave today that I did not get a chance to hear.
Oh.
Because you were super passionate about it. Can you tell maybe just highlights?
I really feel that my journey and my friends, we all have, life is hard, and being a woman is hard. And, you know, I went to several physicians looking for answers. I didn't feel good. I was really tired half the month. And I went to 4 doctors, and all 4 of them said nothing was wrong with me. And I knew that I felt bad. And women, just so you know, there is a bias, a healthcare bias, in that we're complainers. We're more likely to be complainers. And that's really unfortunate. And it was Dr. Paul Thompson. I went to him, and he just did a deeper dive. And so with that, sharing my story and learning other stories, I really wanted to create a presentation. Also, Andrea Johnson's been asking me to create a presentation on menopause for many years. And so I thought, I can't do menopause. You can't talk womanhood unless you bring in adolescence. And let me tell you, it is so big. It's so much. And the mental health crisis in our country is heartbreaking and driven by social media. And, you know, that actually in our young adolescent girls, and Joy, you have girls, so you know the CRP is elevated, interleukin-6 is elevated, and at adolescents. And those that suffer from depression in adolescence are more likely to spend their entire lifetime battling depression. And so where I thought I'd spend 5 minutes in adolescence, I ended up spending a good, like probably the majority of the presentation in adolescence. And again, those lifestyle, and then moving into adverse pregnancy outcomes and the risk factors, and then menopause. It's so big. It's so big.
But you know what? You did such an amazing job focusing on the adolescents, because that's where it begins. So right now we have the opportunity to change the next generation, and yet we know all the menopause and all those other aspects, but you initiated change in that room by delivering that message and giving us the opportunity to have some tools, some takeaways. And the reason that we cannot accept, you know, what we see in front of us sometimes, we have to do more. We've got to try a different conversation, look at things from a different angle.
We have to do what our beautiful friend, Dr. Joy Void-Holmes says, and I say this everywhere I go. We have to train our brave and have these really difficult conversations with our patients, with our friends, be their support system, and even bigger than that, we have to do that for ourselves.
I was just going to say, when you think of oral systemic, what do you think of? Because I think of Machell Hudson and Kerry Lepicek.
Oh, I mean, for sure.
I get to sit and listen to them both. Normally, I have a lot to say, and I'm just like soaking it all in. This is just phenomenal.
I really want, we're going to have, can we put the video on, a link to the video? Something that I really wanted, and I'm going to try not to cry, and I'm such a crybaby. I wanted to have the people that have been my support system and my beautiful sisters in the profession of dental hygiene, and both of you are a part of it, and you will never know how much that means to me. But what I asked of our friends was to give me a 1-minute video of what it means to be a woman, and there were no rules to it. Like, where are you at right now? And the beautiful thing about it is I have chills because the stories are so similar, but they're also so unique to who each one of these amazing women are. And that was really my favorite part of this presentation. And we really are made up of the most incredible people in the world this profession is.
We're awesome.
Yep. Own it.
We're awesome.
Own it.
Hygienists are going to save the world.
I believe that.
We are making change.
We are.
And we
have the power.
We have to just work together, try to be collaborative as
Say
much as we
that
can.
one more time,
We
please.
need to work together. Honestly, we need to be all in the same train, going in the same direction.
Yep.
We can all different flavors and different opportunities, but we've got to stay on the same train and work with each other.
Yep.
But what's next, though? Like, I feel like we have the opportunity in a lot of places to do all these things. What's next?
No, we need to come together. That's what's
Yes.
next.
We do. We're still so broken.
We're very broken.
Healthcare is broken, but it's fixable.
And I think we're going to bridge that
Okay,
gap once we
let's
fix
talk about.
us.
Let's be honest. Let's have what's
Okay.
broken. What's broken about?
We're sick care. We're sick care in our country.
No,
we-
he's talking about the profession.
I'm talking about the
profession.
profession, but also that's true too.
Oh, okay.
We
we're
make
gonna
money
get
off
real.
people being sick.
Okay.
Of course we are.
We're going to get real. So
This is not for CE, everybody. This is going to
So
be just
we-
a real episode.
we might not have any friends after this.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own agenda. I remember being in hygiene school, and I'm like, I can't wait to be a member of MDHA, which was Maryland. I can't wait to be a member of ADHA, and I would hear the stories of how they banded together, and when they saw certain people got scared because they knew, they were a force to be reckoned with. And I think things started to change. Just like you started with one church, and now I want a church, and 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 I want a church. And so that started happening with dental hygiene. I think that, I'm going to say it, there's a lot of ageism in the profession where younger people aren't respected,
Interesting.
older people aren't respected, and we're living in a society where there's just a lack of professionalism and respect. And as a result, that gap between the old guard and the new guard became wider and wider. And as a result, the profession suffered. We lost membership. And I've been saying for a while, as a black woman, there are things that I did not appreciate about the profession. There are a lot of situations I could speak of that, I could see why a lot of just people of color in general don't want to be a part.
Sure.
You just weren't going to bully me.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. But I think, ultimately you have this divide, and although I feel the way that I do, you can't fight the ADA. You can't fight other organizations broken. Mm-hmm. They may have had infighting before, but they weren't broken. We are broken. And so I would say, can we find one thing that we all want? Autonomy. Mm-hmm. Like, can we just find one thing with all of the fighting and the disagreements? There has to be one thing that we agree on, and I think that we all want autonomy. And I think if we were to come together on autonomy and see how amazing that would be, then go back to your other specs. But I think it would give people an opportunity to see what their strength in numbers.
Do you feel like this is a top-down problem? Like it started with organizations, this and that, trickled down to the offices, or do you think this is something that's happening in the offices that just was never addressed by anybody?
I think it's happening everywhere. So, people often will say it's, ADHA on the national level. I almost cursed. I really had to catch there are
Do I have any beep numbers?
going on at the state level.
That would be funny.
What do I have here? Hold on. Maybe that's not anything.
They look pretty.
Oh, that's not the one I was looking for.
Well, you probably would have hit that after I said what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Because, we like the F word. It's a fucking show.
Yeah.
At the state level.
Sure.
And how do you elevate to positions at the national level? Well, you have to be promoted at the state level. Nobody ever talks about what goes on at these state meetings. And when I say it is absolutely atrocious. And so I hear people say all the time, I'll rejoin when they die out, which is a horrible thing to say. It's a horrible thing to say, but it's like, I don't get it. There's just a lack of respect. I bring something to the table. If you're 80 and you're still practicing, you bring something to the table, but I don't know how we
I don't know
here.
how either. And I think, some of the biggest conflicts I've ever had in my offices were when I was the lead or I was the trainer or whatever.
You're a man.
And I would, no. And I would say, okay, well, let's sit down. Let's review this complicated case that we did together, whether it was, with the patient in the chair and we were talking over here and then came back to the patient together or whatever, reviewing chart notes, x-rays, post-op stuff, whatever it is. I feel like a lot of the problem was they just didn't want to be told that they were wrong.
It's interesting that you say that, and I hate that I'm going to misquote this person. And it was almost like a podcast that I heard, and they said, once upon a time, smart people were well respected. They were well read, and people who were not as knowledgeable really didn't have a voice. And then you had this thing come along called the World Wide Web. And it gave not so smart people a voice. They're like, oh, there are other people that feel like me, that are like me. And when you get, and maybe that's a cruel way to say it, but when you get a lot of not so smart people and they now have a platform to
not be smart on.
I'm trying not to cuss. Try not to cuss, but to
Express
complain
themselves.
and express themselves.
Sure.
The unsmart actually now are labeled the smart, and the smart people are the unsmart.
Yeah.
And I feel like
That's interesting.
Does that make sense?
I mean, it doesn't make me feel any better about the situation, but I mean,
But if you think about it, yeah.
it can make some sense there, I guess.
I don't know. It's a society problem in general too. I think the sense of entitlement.
The me generation.
Me,
Everyone is
me,
about me.
Everyone is
and
right.
This works for me, and it might not work for you, but that's okay because it works for me, and that's just the end of the conversation. And you have to stay true to your morals. You have to stay true to what you are
lacking.
But can we define that generation though? Because I feel like if I'm a listener, they're like, oh, I'm young at a school. They're talking about me, but we're not talking about them because
it's
age.
Also it's not an age.
It's not age. It's
an
really
age
not,
thing.
because some of the best hygienists that I get to work with, they're young, and then some of them have been practicing for 30 years.
Yeah.
And
And I would say that there were a lot of them, especially like the people that I looked up to that were, it actually is all about me. There was a situation that happened just within the last couple of days where there's this entitlement situation. And I looked, and this person had to have been no less than 30 years my senior, and was just like, this is this. And I'm like, I'm sorry, who are you again? Like, I've never heard of you, but you're coming at me like you are like the most amazing thing that ever happened in dental hygiene. And you just want me to give you all of these things. I'm like, oh, that is so interesting. So I just want to make sure like the listeners aren't feeling like we're saying it's generational as in age,
It's
but
so
it's
many
just
things.
like
No.
It's just like
as now it's an era of
I don't know. It's like eating sugar is not the only thing that's responsible for causing Kerry's disease.
Thank
It's
you.
multifactorial.
Thank
There's so
you.
many different things. So I think we're dealing with a number of
And
there's just
people
not one
now
thing.
have so many opportunities to voice their opinion. There's different platforms. Even attending seminars, some of the questions people ask or the things that they say to people, it's like, that's just hurtful or that's not nice. Like,
Right.
we're just not always super
Oh.
kind to everybody.
And it's no
We're
responsible
really not.
journalism. Like,
No.
I mean, it's. I could go down a whole nother rabbit hole. I don't even watch the news anymore.
No,
I
I don't.
either side. It's horrible.
yeah.
So
You should just come to Canada. Our news is different.
It is.
Yeah,
it
it's a little
really
nicer.
Is it? I don't.
So,
I know
when
it's
are-
always about making fun of Americans.
When are we doing something?
well,
in
you
Canada,
actually haven't
Kerry?
said I'm sorry in a while.
Well, I've just been
She's not.
admired by all the things that you guys are saying.
She's learned from us.
Yeah.
She has learned from us.
She's like,
I should not apologize for something that I should not apologize.
What I love about Kerry is that she's very direct.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
love it.
love that. She's like, I hope I'm not being too forward. I'm like, no, I love, because you always know where you stand.
Yep.
And those are my people. Like, I can deal with that.
It must be that July 20th birthday situation.
I think so. I think anyone that's born on July 20th is just super awesome.
Super direct.
And
Super
then,
awesome.
the heavens opened up when August babies came along.
Well, I mean, we ushered in an era for you, but whatever.
We paved the way so the August babies could enjoy the rest of the sun. We had the initial sun, and the later sun. You've got
God
that.
said you thought I did something special.
All right,
Watch
so
me work.
unfortunately, we need to end this. This is too much fun, but I have people waiting. So, if someone wanted to reach out to you and listen to advice from smart people, how can they reach out to each of you?
Social media. I don't want to. See, I'm old school, but you can't call me either, because I don't want everybody calling me. Email me or social media at Dr. Joy RDH, info@drjoyrdh.com.
And I'll put her cell phone number in the show notes.
Go ahead. You
No,
can
I
put
won't. I
my
won't.
Google number. Go ahead.
You can reach out to me, Kerry, at social media, Lepicek, or through email, klepicek@gmail.com.
Machell, Machell. I know. That's my life.
That's good.
Machell at integrativedentalcoaching.com. Machell Hudson RDH on Instagram.
Hashtag the heart hygienist.
Aw, I love you with my whole heart. All of you.
Andrew at Tale 2 Hygiene. No one cares about that. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Very much appreciated.
care.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.